Hello, future RCICs. So I have a sample question for you today that deals with, I think, a very important topic, and that is, of course, your scope that you as RCICs have or will have versus what Canadian lawyers do. So for the work that you're going to do as RCICs, it's very specialized work. I always consider the difference between RCICs and lawyers to be similar to nurses and doctors, where nurses do a ton of work, they're very specialized, very important, and doctors do a ton of work and they're very specialized and very important, but they do different types of work. So what type of work can you do as an RCIC is what we'll explore in this sample question. So this question comes from one of our seminar takers and from a couple weeks ago. And I thought it was just such a cool question, such a great way to explore this topic of what you do as an RCIC, your scope of practice versus what lawyers do. So we're going to explore this in the next slide in an ICCRC scenario type of question. And you'll have the countdown timer on there as usual. So it's going to be for 60 seconds. I want you to come up with an answer, and then we'll explore whether or not the answer you selected is correct or incorrect, and of course, more importantly, why. And here is your sample question. So you've got about 55 seconds remaining, so good luck. All right, welcome back. So I hope the question was a good one for you, really. The countdown timer can be a little bit stressful for people sometimes, so it's always good to practice with that. Let's explore the options here and see if you got the answer correct. But the important part here is, of course, to see if you got the answer correct, but the process you go through to get that correct answer is really where the learning happens, right? So you had different options over here. Number one was, or A was, you should request that the judge in the criminal case allows you to represent Skylar. You have other options here as well, but I mean, it all kind of leads back to that idea of, well, number one is because you represent Gustav and have some sort of, I guess, relationship with the wife as well, does that mean you are responsible for everything for those people? So if Gustav kills somebody, are you representing him in criminal court because you are his RCIC? No, of course not, right? If Gustav wants to sue somebody because something happened, are you going to represent Gustav? No. If Gustav and his wife want to get divorced, would you, the RCIC, represent Gustav in that divorce? No. So in the same way that nurses work in different areas and specialize in different things, doctors as well, accountants, carpenters, everybody, right? There's different legal requirements to represent somebody in court. The same way that for you as RCICs, I mean, you are part of the designated people who can represent people in their immigration procedures. So it's the same idea as that, but presented in a different context, right, of what you can't do because you're an RCIC and not a lawyer. So with A, I mean, we can look at that in a little bit. With B, amending the current retainer agreement so that you can represent him and his spouse in all legal troubles that happen during the time of their immigration procedure. Is that going to be the correct answer? No. Just like I said, if Gustav kills somebody or something like that, just because coincidentally it's during the immigration procedure, that doesn't mean that you are now authorized to represent someone in criminal court. For C, you should advise him to seek representation from an RCIC who specializes in criminal law defense and have a joint retainer with that RCIC. So again, an RCIC cannot represent somebody in criminal court, right? So even if an RCIC specializes in criminal law defense, I don't think that person would be an RCIC. It would be probably a lawyer instead. You do have RCICs who represent people for inadmissibility and that type of thing. But again, that's under the scope of RCIC and is legally, of course, under the scope of RCIC versus what a lawyer can do. And you've got D. Hopefully D was a nice, refreshing answer for you. You should advise him to seek representation from a lawyer who specializes in criminal law defense. But you can represent Skylar, of course, in that inadmissibility hearing later on, because again, that falls under the scope of what you can do as an RCIC. So if you chose D, that is the correct answer. Congratulations. I think we saw the elements that play a role in this question, and we could see really it is the work that you do as an RCIC. Basically, what can you do? What can't you do as an RCIC? All right, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed the question. It kind of leads into a bigger topic of discussion that comes up sometimes, and that is, of course, the lawyer's role versus the role of the RCIC. And you have to explain that to clients sometimes as well. Really, they're complementary. For big, complex issues like the one we saw in this scenario, hey, it's good to have a lawyer you can refer people to handle that kind of thing. For immigration-related procedures, that's your job, and you're going to be great at it. All right, see you next time.